Let's begin by opening the project. So, using Control-O or Command-O on your Mac, navigate to where your Project Files folder is. Then navigate to Chapter 10. Then open the project 10 keying. We'll start out by looking at number 1, the intro to Simple Keys. Double-clicking on the composition brings it up. Then, releasing Caps Lock will allow After Effects to redraw the screen. Then I'll use Alt// or Option/ on the Mac to bring the composition window down to fit the window. Here we have a simple clip of a guy playing a guitar, and it's actually many different clips. As we stretch this out, we can see all of the different clips tied together in this piece of video by double-clicking and looking at the layer window. Here we can see we're actually looking at a small segment of this larger clip. Clicking and dragging through here, we can see that there are several different takes, all tied to the same piece of video. We'll take a look at just this one piece where he's strumming the guitar. Now, while you may have created some source material in a 3D application or in something like Photoshop or Illustrator and you're able to extract or create an alpha channel easily, sometimes with live footage, it's not such a simple task. In the case of live footage, you may want to shoot your subject matter against something like a blue screen or a green screen so you can extract the foreground information and leave a transparent background so you can composite the background later in After Effects. But why do we use green? Well, in After Effects, we have 3 color channels that make up our image: red, green, and blue. We can see these down here in the bottom of our comp or layer window. By clicking on the small icon, you can bring up the different channels: the red channel, green channel, blue channel, our alpha channel, and the RGB straight information, which may have some fringing that is concealed by an alpha channel. In this image, we don't have any alpha channel assigned, so if we click on the alpha, we're going to see a pure white frame. This means that After Effects is allowing all of the information on this layer to come through. That's why we're seeing everything that was shot. We'll click here and go back to RGB. We'll also go back to our composition so we can see this video in our comp window. There's an easier way to show all of the channels rather than going down to the bottom here and clicking on the small icon. We can use the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, then pair it with the 1, 2, 3, or 4 key at the top of your keyboard. Without being near this icon, if I move the cursor up here and I'm working inside my composition, and I use Alt or Option on the Mac and pair that with the number 1, I'll reveal the red channel. You can see in the comp window around the border of the frame, there's a small red line. This doesn't mean that After Effects is not redrawing the image. What it means is that After Effects is only drawing the red channel. Now with the red channel displayed, we can step through the timeline and see where the red channels are. Now the red channel doesn't just display the red images, but everywhere that red is being allowed to display. There may be a little bit of red in his shirt and in his strap, and definitely the guitar and his skin tone. And there's even a little bit of red inside of the green screen that sits behind him. If we use Alt and the number 2 or Option and number 2 on the Mac, we'll see the green channel. Here we can see that there's a lot more green being allowed through in this image, as represented by the brightest levels in this grayscale image. So everywhere that's bright, green is being allowed to show through, and everywhere it's dark, less green is allowed through. And last, if we use Alt 3 or Option 3 on a Mac, we'll reveal the blue channel. Again, we see the blue being allowed through with the brightest parts, and blue light being concealed with the darkest parts. Alt 4 or Command 4 on the Mac is going to show you the alpha channel for this layer. Again, the alpha channel is currently letting everything through. Let's take a look back at our blue channel. In our blue channel, we see quite a bit of noise through the edges of the pixels. In the green channel, we're seeing all of the green screen, and we can make out some of the shadows that are cast on the green screen from the lighting setup. If we use Alt 1 or Option 1 on the Mac, we can see all of the fringing around the edge of the shirt where it meets the green screen. All of these channels together provide additive light, which when they come together, create all of the colors represented in our RGB image. To see the RGB image again, all we need to do is use Alt and the number that we're currently displaying, or Option and the number that we're currently displaying on a Mac. Here we're currently displaying our red channel, which is displayed by using Alt 1 or Option 1. If we invoke that same command, we'll go right back to the RGB image. So we have 3 different color channels that make up the white light that we see in our RGB image. We use green or blue because most people's skin tones have some pigment of red. And if you're going to try to key a person, You probably want to have as little red in your keying element as you can. We use green screen because the blue channel has traditionally a lot more digital noise than green does in our red, green, and blue channels. In digital video, that blue screen noise translates into blocky pixels, which may result in a very choppy looking key around the edge of your subject. In order to see that, let's take a look at some of his hair here in his head. We zoom in a little bit and hold down the spacebar and pan up to see his head. We can see that there are already compression artifacts around the fine elements of his hair. If we investigate the green channel by using Alt-2 or Option-2 on your Mac, or if we would look at the same image through the blue channel using Alt-3 or Option-3, we can see all of this digital noise through here and the small blocks that show up inside the compression of the digital video. In his hair, we see this very sharp line where these images of these blue pixels, which were once noise, become very square pixels. In the green screen, we can see by using Alt-2 or Option-2 on your Mac, we can see that the line is a little bit softer and doesn't reveal as much of a sharp edge. We'll use Alt-2 or Option-2 to get back to our RGB image. Once you've seen that, it's a little bit hard to not recognize the digital compression artifacts that you get when you use digital video. For the most part, you'll be using green screen when you shoot live action for the purposes of keying. However, there is one major exception to the rule: blonde people. When you shoot blonde people, it should be on a blue screen. Blondes on blue is usually the catchphrase you'll hear to remember that. The reason is that the yellow and blonde hair picks up a lot of the green spill that the green screen casts. And what you'll wind up with is somebody that once had blonde hair, now having green hair, or in the worst case, having no hair at all once you key it out. Now the keyer works on After Effects' ability to select a range of color pixels. How do we do that? With a few simple effects tools that we can find in the standard package.